Show. All right, peace, everybody. This is your brother Satepa Ramariaman. This is week 2, chapter 2 of the review of the destruction of Black civilization by Chancellor Williams. This chapter is titled. Let's see where we at. This chapter is titled Ethiopia, Oldest Daughter, Egypt. And I just want to go over this or I want to do this commercial real quick, and then after I do the commercial, I'm going to introduce myself once again, then I'm going to pass it over to the brothers on the panel. So let's get these commercials popping.
Alright, ladies and gentlemen, the books is in. The books are in. Yep. They're in. They're here.
All right, once again, this is your brother Satepa Ramariaman. And like I said, we were going over this book, The Destruction of Black Civilization. We expect our brother Unc to join the panel a little later, but right now we got Kofi Paisai, we got T'Challa, and we got Sutek, Niger Valley Civilization. Kofi, you want to go first? Unmute your mic, Kofi.
First I want to say welcome back or welcome black to Kofi Paisai TV, Black African Power. I want to say ETM Hotel, Dua Duau, Dua Aku, Dua Netra, Fatmu Alafie, Fatmu Riri, Fatmu Iwa Pile, Majuba Iba E Gungun, Majuba Iba E Gungun, Majuba Iba E Elak Ba. Majuba, me, Egungun, Kiki, Egungun. I always want to give honor and praises to the ancestors because without the ancestors, we wouldn't be here. We are our ancestors. I also want to stand honor and praises to the true living ancestors, according to African traditions and from an African world view. Again, welcome back to Kofi Paisai TV. This is the second show of the book discussion on our great late ancestor Chancellor Williams' work, the destruction of Black civilization, the great issues and race from 4500 BCE to 2000 AD. Again, I want to say welcome.
All right, who we got next, brother T'Challa?
All right, peace, everybody. It's your brother T'Challa. Just pulling up in front of my house after a long, good weekend of shows, playing djembe, practicing what it means to be an African. Actually participating in the producing of music and dance. So out here living the culture. You know, so many people want to research and talk about Africa, but I don't hear a whole lot of people dealing with the music and dance. So I'm just feeling real good. Excited off my boy last night. You know,
Yes, sir.
man. That's my move too. I love an uppercut. But anyway, that's not what this show is about. We're gonna keep it right along moving with the chapter 2, as our brother Kofi said. I really enjoyed Chancellor Williams. this work in particular. So let's get it going.
All right, we got brother. Let's see. Oh yeah, brother Sute.
Yeah, peace, family. Ikenni AB, say Lafayette need. Peace to the chat. Peace to all those that will view this in the archives. Make sure you like and share the show. Again, we discussing the destruction of black civilization by late great ancestor, brother Chancellor Williams. I can't wait to get into this discussion and see some of the viewpoints that the brothers have on some of these points. So let's get to it.
All right, we got brother Vasa. What's up, Sean? I see you on here. What's going on?
Yeah. ETM Hotel, Rennie Sean. Welcome in peace. My name is Sean. Thank everybody for tuning into the show. You should see our special guest should be appearing soon. They got the link, so hopefully they come in pretty soon. They read the chapter, took some notes, pulled out some notes and all that. But I'm ready, man. And yeah. Big shout out to the squad last night. Yeah, I'm up on game.
All right, brother Vasa, go ahead. I see you opened your mic.
Peace, everyone. My name is Vasal Nicolau, and I'm hungry. I would like to repeat that. My name is Vasal Nicolau, and I'm hungry.
All right, brother Vasa. All right, y'all. So let's go ahead and get into the discussion. So I know I started last time. Does anybody want to be afforded the opportunity to get it started this time, or y'all want me to go ahead and get it popping?
Get it popping, Satep.
All right, so I start out. I like how the book start out actually, and y'all know I love Egypt, and we got to talk about Ethiopia as well, and I like how he deals into this, and then he go into the mulatto and all that type of stuff. So the first thing that stood out to me, I started on page we'll say 63. And it's down at the very bottom, the last paragraph. And in quotations after the two lines, it says, "Those who are interested in the truth about black man's history will be compelled to do so, for the most significant part of the black African history developed in Egypt." I just feel like that is a strong, I just wanted to quote that part right there because, if you look at the world today, and even Dr. Ben wrote about it in Western Civilization, like, a lot of stuff is taken from Kemet and it's all around the world. That's the only civilization where you find monuments made by African people all over the world. You know what I'm talking about? Like, if you talking about you want to go to Rome, where you got the obelisk there, and you even got limestone stuff that was carried to Saudi Arabia, even Lebanon. I was just watching something the other day where they was talking about, and then even you got the ziggurats in the Iraq area where they got stuff from Egypt, and we know that it's stuff over here. I don't know if it's as big as stuff is there, but yeah, that quote right there just stood out to me, and I was like, yeah, man, that's just so true because if you want to see the pinnacle of African civilization, we going to Kemet. So yeah, I just wanted to start out on page 63. If anybody got anything prior to that or after that, we can discuss that. So how y'all feel about that quote though? Y'all still on here? I think y'all mic muted. Somebody said something.
Yeah, my mic was muted. No, I have no issue with it. I like that quote, man. I think that was good to start off the start the book discussion off.
Yeah.
And you're absolutely right. About Kim.
Yeah, if you want to see the pinnacle African civilization, we're gonna go to Kemet, and I like how Chancellor Williams details that at the end of this page, and prior to the page, he's talking about the two lands and the stuff that Egypt had to do in the beginning. He going in on this chapter talking about Arabs and all type of stuff. So I'm glad to see. I'm excited to see what brother's gonna bring out, especially Sutek dealing with the Arab stuff. So if anybody don't got anything else, I will go to
Hey,
page 6.
Satep, I just wanted to throw this out there because you made the statement, not necessarily what he said, about the obulus and how you can see them in Rome and etc. When you said that, I had a visual of, I don't know if many know this, but the end mark, designated end mark, quote unquote, for the Trail of Tears and where a lot of those blacks went. The end mark in Oklahoma is marked by an obelisk there. Maybe I can get a picture and show it to you one day. But yeah, you see it everywhere, and that's just another example.
Yeah, I appreciate that. Shout out to everybody in the chat too. I see you, brother Sean P. I see you in the chat. I see you, Lakeisha. Shout out, brother Zane. Always in the chat. Yeah. So, did anybody have anything else though? Before I go on to the next little quote on 65 that I picked out.
Well, yeah, real quick. You talk about the obelisk. I'm not gonna get up because that's on one of my bookshelves. But check out Anthony Browder's. Anthony Browder's got a great book. I forgot the name of the book. A lot of people don't talk about this book. They talk about the other two books, but it's another book that he talks about. We talk about Washington, the layout of Washington, and he talks about those obelisks. So he goes in depth with the obelisk being over here. He goes in depth with the obelisk being over Greece, how they ended up over here, how they ended up in over other places, and how they was created in Kemet. And at one particular point, what was on the top of those diagonal areas on the obelisk, man. It's I think for people that want more information on those obelisks and what they was called the Tekken, they was called the Tekken. In Kemet, I'll get the book in a minute and go pull. It's a little small book, man, but it's jam packed with information, especially about the obelisk.
Yeah, Kofi, I was going to ask you, is that Nile Valley contributions to civilizations that you're talking about? Because I got that one.
No, that ain't it.
I'm not in my library.
Is Egypt on the map or something?
Yeah, that's it. That's it right there. That's it. That's right there. You won't hear a lot of people talk about that book, but it's a pretty good book, man. They talk about the other previous publications, but they don't really talk about that book. But that's it right there.
Okay. All right, so I'm gonna slide over to 65, and this one right here, man. I don't know if y'all picked up on it, but this right here is real controversial. What I'm about to read right here, and it sparked a lot of stuff, and it actually sparked a publication as well. So I want some of the brothers to expound on that. I know Sean.
Go ahead. What page now?
Page 65, paragraph 2.
All right.
Well, actually, it's paragraph 1. The first paragraph. Mm-hmm. All right, so it says, there was no Egypt before the black king, from whose name it was indirectly derived. And this is where I quote it right here. Before that, the country was called Kim or Kimi. Another name indicated its black inhabitants, and not the color of the soil, as the writers have needlessly strained themselves in assertion. So what do y'all think about that?
It's something that's already been dealt with. We know back then what these ancestors were pushing for, and what they were pushing back against, which is European academic racism. And I understand how one could think that, but now we got updated information, and now we know that it's not referring to the people so much so as it's referring to the land.
And I'll be honest. At one particular time, You know, I was regurgitating some of that same information that I was reading that Kemet was a black land, meaning it referred it to the people as Kim, or even I would even use and go back to Kim or Kam when we're talking about we go into the biblical narrative and stuff. So, you know, when you know better, you do better. And I understand with some of the texts that we read, you know, you have to take that in consideration of when it was published, you know, and now we have more information at our fingertips than some of the ancestors have. So we just got to continue to update that information, and we're not being disrespectful when we are trying to update the information that our ancestors laid out before us. And this is something that they will want us to do. And you know, that's it.
Yeah, and I like how y'all broke that down. Anybody? I see Shauna jumped up off here. Anybody want to go into what we actually discussing? Because you know we talking about the place named Kemet, and this was this raised some eyebrows. What was it about 2018 or 2019?
2018, late 2018, almost going to 2019 when they started. Matter of fact, I'm gonna get the book because the book was published
Go ahead.
the actual debate. So let me go get it while y'all still. I'm gonna go get the book.
Okay. Yeah, and what we talking about? I'm gonna reread this, y'all, because it might have went over some of y'all head. I'm not gonna say it did. I'm just gonna reread it. It says, and I'm gonna read where I quote. Before that, the country was called Kim or Kimi, another name indicating its black inhabitants, and not the color of the soil, as writers have needlessly strained themselves in asserting. So Chancellor Williams is saying that the word Kim and Kimi is referring to the people, not the soil. So I just want to let that be clear. So when everybody quoting that stuff, you know, that's this where a lot of that information came from. And you know, like Sutek said, these brothers in this time period, man, and if you read this chapter, he details it a lot. They fighting against whitewashing of Kemet. You know what I'm saying? So at the time, this may have been, you know, the propaganda that was about, but shit, you know, sometimes you need to do that to keep your legacy intact. And then we'll figure it out later if it's right or wrong amongst ourselves. But when we fighting the enemy, you know, we got to be together. So
yeah, in the book, it was 2019, so actually it was a year or something ago that this debate took place. And the name of the book that we're talking about that was surrounding the debate with Brother Asar, Brother Ankiket, I think Brother Sanjeti, and their opponents who were their opponents? I don't forgot who the opponents was. Oh, never mind. We don't even gotta mention that name. I just remember. Yeah, we ain't even gotta mention that name because they didn't even show up for debate.
Yeah, they let you know who the victor was.
Yeah, but this is the book right here. The contribution to the debate on the meaning of the place name Kemet by the Shimshu Haru team, which is Sanjeti, Wu Jiao, and Brother Asar. So this is the work right here. Let me blow it up so people can see this. So if they ain't got the book, you can go get the book. And for those that got the book, you know, people that read the book, they can kind of follow along with the discussion. If we go deeper into the place name of Kemet or what Kemet actually, you know, what Kemet actually meant.
And Kofi, you actually wrote an article about that book on the subject matter itself, correct?
Yeah, I wrote an article and Sean wrote one as well.
Okay. So yeah, y'all, we following up. You know, we doing our due diligence out here. So yeah, anybody got anything on that? Or any other highlight?
Egypt was a black land. Egypt was a black land.
And I'm gonna show you. If anybody knows the song we sing and name the author of the song.
Shaka Utmost.
Oh man. All right, so we're
I
gonna
just want you to know.
keep it moving. I'm gonna go to. I'm at page. My next thing that I highlighted was on 71. So if anybody got any quotes or anything highlighted prior to 71, you can go ahead and take the floor.
You won't you finna go in, you finna go to another page, or you want me, because I want to go just, you know, and it's not just for me, it's for us in general. I just
Go ahead.
Well, let's talk. Let's go back to page 59, and for those that's in the book, this is the beginning of the chapter, chapter 2, Ethiopia's oldest daughter, Egypt. So if you got the book, you can follow along in the book. But it's called The Great Deception. Egypt, as I pointed out before, was the northeastern region of ancient Ethiopia. The 6 cataracts of the Nile were the great watermarks in the heartland of the blacks, were from whence African culture spread it over the continent. But now where there was, hold on, I'm gonna go back. The 6 cataracts were the Nile of the great watermark in the heartland of the blacks, from whence African culture spread it over the continent. But now nowhere was it pronounced as Egypt. Let's stop right there. We know there was dealing. Let's just deal with the word Egypt, and we'll go a little bit further, because I know, you know, he talks about Chim, or he talks about Kim, and we pronounce it as Kemet, or we pronounce it as, or we as Tameri. But anyway, we know that the word Egypt comes from Egypti, Egyptos, from the Greek, the French, Egypt, the Greek and the Romans, I think it was Egypti, Egyptos, but the French called it something else, and then it was translated into Egypt. We know that it was not called Egypt. You know, we may argue with some of our brothers and sisters that's into Islam or into Christianity, and they argue that this place is called Egypt. This place was not called Egypt. This term of Egypt comes from the Greeks, the French, and the Romans. They did not describe their place as Egypt. And, you know, we have a lot of Hebrews use the terminology as the place. Egypt means bondage. Egypt means, it may do mean bondage, but it didn't mean bondage at a particular time. They did not call themselves, this place was not called Egypt. Kemet, what it was referred to, or Timeri is what it was referred to. I don't want to give all the information out. Just real quick, and we'll move further with it. Anybody that's looking, we got 22 people that's watching. So out of the 22 people that's watching in the chat, and even anybody on the panel can, but let's see if we can get somebody from the what's the name. Again, they did not refer to their land as Egypt. This comes from the Greeks, the Romans, and the French. Egypti, Egyptos, and the French called it something, and then it got translated into Egypt, into the English vernacular. We know that it was not a place called Egypt. Even when we deal with Chancellor Williams referring to as Chim and Cham, Kemet or Timeri, when did this particular place becomes Kemet? Because I'm going to tell you, they didn't just off the rip start calling themselves, calling the land Kemet. And they did not off the rip start calling themselves Timeri, which is the beloved land. They did not call themselves what kingdom was it that they started to call this land Kemet, or call this land Tameri? I'm just interested. And then we'll go on with the chapter. But I just wanted to make sure that we throw out that it was not called Egypt. It was not called Egypt.
Yawning. Somebody play that music. You want me to answer?
Is this for the panel or for the chat?
He said the panel, but he said he wanted to see the chat answer.
Right. I said the chat or the panel. But let's give it to me. Okay, Zane's, and again, when we throw stuff out of the chat, it's not to insult anybody intelligence. It's all a learning thing. We all learn it together. So it's not to insult anybody. Well, with me, it's not to insult anybody intelligent. So we all learn it. If you get the answer wrong, you don't. And Brother Zane, peace, Brother Zane. I got something coming for you, brother Zane, because you one of our loyal. You know,
Here we go.
I do, man. I mean, he does. That boy does so much for us, man. That
I ain't
brother.
say that. I ain't say that.
Okay, but anyway, Zane says the 7th dynasty.
Are you sure?
Now he says the 6th. He said the 7th or the 6th dynasty. Okay. Kemet may have been mistranslated. Nikki Lane.
Whoa.
Go on in. Yeah, we'll deal with that. Go ahead, Sean. Go into it, Sean.
She said it been mistranslated.
The question was okay. Hold on, you can answer T'Challa. Sarah asked him what was the question. The question was, Sarah, we talking about Chancellor William is going into Egypt, and he said, but nowhere was it pronounced as Egypt. So now I stop right there, and I want to reiterate or stress what he's saying is actually was correct. They never called the place Egypt. It was never called Egypt. It comes from the Greeks, the French, and the Romans. So I talk about the Egypto, and then English, you get Egypt. You know, and I'm asking what period, time period, what age, what kingdom was it pronounced as Kemet or Timeri? That's what we know that the Remich of the Chp.2 referred to the land as. It was not called Egypt. So I wanted to stop right there because Chancellor William is also telling you it was nowhere was it pronounced as Egypt. So I asked what kingdom was it?
Is Chavis in the chat? Because I can't see the chat.
No, I don't see Brother Chavis at all.
Because he would be jumping up and down right now with that answer.
Yeah. Well, peace to all the brothers in the chat. Peace to all the brothers and sisters in the chat.
But I'm about to say, boy, you was a little sexist right there.
Yeah, brothers and sisters. Go ahead, Sean. No, T'Challa. Go ahead, T'Challa. You had something. Go ahead. Yeah, T'Challa Bangara.
So the last time I checked, and I could be wrong, right, is that right around the 11th dynasty is when some interesting things start to happen with the name.
That's more so along the lines of what they call themselves. Because you're talking about the tomb of Seti the First. It's when you see the first rendition pretty much of the name that they call themselves.
Are you talking about as in terms of Remech?
Yeah.
Okay. Well, see, and this is why, okay, family, this is why I do this. Is because notice when I'm unsure about something, I'm gonna let you know. Because I have a lot of information in my head on a lot of different accounts, and we have those that specialize, i.e. the Sateparas, the Kofis and the Shans of this panel particularly, who can definitely go into more of Kemet in depth with primaries and get you dates. And so I asked because I remember reading something about the 11th dynasty. So we talking about only with the name, what they call themselves with the 11th dynasty. So what
we were talking, I'm asking, I mean, you correct. We talking about Kemet. You are correct.
But see, I thought I read something too as well with the land in terms of the name of the land right around that time period. But I guess I'm wrong.
Yeah, 11th dynasty. Yes, you start seeing it around.
Kofi. There is in the Zane been cheap. Zane got that book open.
He got the book open. Zane, close your book, brother. Close your book.
Yeah, Zane pulled the book out and opened the book, bro. The reason why I'm saying that is because there's an old kingdom, a mention of it in the old kingdom. And this was pretty much one of the arguments that was already had, but another brother tried to have the argument in his staple page essay that whatever you want to call it. And he tried to bring that argument up and try to use that use the argument around that 6th, 7th dynasty area where it shows up in an old kingdom on something dang it, I forgot what it's called. But yeah, so that's why I ain't say he was right or wrong, Zane. But you do see something that goes back to that based on that. That's the earliest mention. But as far as how things start transferring over, what Kofi is mentioning and talking about, then yeah, T'Challa, you would be in that realm of not absolutely wrong, but a lot happened politically. A lot happening.
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, let's move
Cause that's
on,
really
man.
all that is. That's really all that is. But to just expound on this point right here, what our ancestors saying to us is that we need to do a better job at knowing what people actually call themselves in the old world and the new. Right? We should be able to we should be able to know who we are and where we are in any time period. When we do not know, and I think this might be an extended point that he probably would make today, but if we don't know who we are or where we are in this chronological order of history, then we will not know when it's time for that, time for us to stand up and take reign. And I think that what Kofi is presenting to us is, knowing these names is crucial, because you have time periods of different rulership, different people coming in. Was there any type of involvement? Then you get into what people use as race as a social construct to define, are black people there, are white people there, what kind of people is in the area? Well, you got to read what they say about themselves and how they define people,
That's
which is
right.
another argument. So this book is critical to our evolution as a people. So, I just want to slide that in there real quick. I'm gonna mute out, man. I really want to get to Sateppa point, because I know where he going. I think I ain't gonna say I know where he going. I think I got an idea of what he trying to get at on 71.
While y'all in
Okay.
this while y'all in this arena of geographic names and places and people groups identifying themselves, something that I don't read the sesh, and my apologies for it. I'm just not as good as you guys, not yet at least. But on page 64, when he was talking about Thebes, and he put quotations that it was the eternal city, was he trying to say that was possibly a name, or was he making that in a comparison to Rome, saying that this is our equivalent of an eternal city? Do y'all know anything about that?
Read it,
Because
Boston. Go ahead. Go
I
ahead and
looked
read.
I looked into it. It wasn't recently, but I looked into it, and that's where it led me to it. And I didn't find anything for Thebes being the eternal city. So I was asking, have y'all seen a translation for that? I think that's what I'm really trying to ask.
Translation
But
for
I'll read
what?
it. I'll read it.
Oh, he's
Give
talking
me a sec.
about thieves. That was different. That was different out, and you can
Not
chime
not not
in.
not
So,
Thebes. Not my bad. Not Thebes. Memphis. Memphis. Um, Let me find it. It was on
well,
64.
Hold on, 'cause I had
the
stepped away. What was the question?
Here, I'll read right here. I found where it says. It says here astride, and it's on page 64, the third paragraph in the middle. Here astride what had been the boundary, the eternal city of Memphis was built, named named for the king, and like Thebes, became the focal point of black power and one of the chief centers of African civilization. So I'm wondering if he was saying, this is an equivalent of Rome, in that, or was he saying that Memphis is, translated as the eternal city? That
Nah, it's
part,
not translated. I can tell you
okay,
that right now. Memphis is not translated what they would call Hekah, the house of Ptah. When you go and study the different deities in Kemet, you got some major deities everybody know about Ptah. You got Amun or Amun Ra. So you got a lot of these different deities, and these different deities at particular time was revered more than the other. You got Atum, you know what I'm saying? When further later, you got other different deities. So those different places was the you could say the house or the staple point for the worship that was there. And Chp.2 only means the house of Ptah, and that was the name of Memphis. So that definitely wasn't called what you said it was called. And again, we using terminologies from someone else because they did not call that place Memphis. You know, it was you could see Chp.2, the house of Ptah, and you
Right.
can see that Ptah was the central deity in that place.
Right. And and I appreciate you answering that for me, Kofi, and for the audience as well. But to further express where I'm going with that question, because if we're looking at it, and there's, I'm not gonna say if that's true, but what you just stated, then it leads me to believe that he was kind of taking, one of them uppercut shots right there, saying that we got our own wrong. We don't have to follow after you. We don't have to mimic you. We had our own eternal city, and it's called this Memphis. If you get where I'm going, so that that kind of played in my mind,
I'm
that particular passage.
Yeah, but I mean,
But
even with that,
I can't speak for Mr. Williams. I can't.
yeah,
So
right,
this is just how my mind is interpreted. So I
right,
thought I'd
but
ask.
yeah, but I'm saying right there, even with that, I mean, they immolated us. If you look in when the
Yeah.
Greeks came into Africa, Alexander the Greek, he wanted to be deified. He wanted to be like Amun Ra. So they immolated a lot of the stuff that even when you look in the traditions and you start to study and you start going to the Ptolemaic period, you start to see them immolating things that Kemet was doing. You see what I'm
Yeah.
saying? So it wasn't the other way around where they was doing something great. You didn't start seeing
Right.
like a lot of this stuff until they started coming into Kemet, which was one of their downfalls, which was I was leading up into in the other chapter, but that was good, right there. But go ahead,
Because
man.
it
I'll
could,
digress.
yeah, there could be an uppercut blow to attack Western civilization educational systems that lead you to believe that everything started in, the Mediterranean, that it was the Greeks who first popped on the scene, followed by Rome, and then followed by an American standpoint of history when we're talking about world history. So I can kind of see, you taking a shot at that, like, no, you wasn't the first, and we got our own eternal city. This is forever. You know what I mean? What they did is forever, and that's a powerful blow to take. So that's why I kind of like that. I'm gonna chime back out and let Satep do his thing though.
Hey, Sister Nikki says Egypt, according to renowned linguist Matt Dewberry, was called Kikuma or Chikuma. Well, first of all, Matt Dewberry is not a linguist. I know exactly who you're talking about. But what do y'all brothers have anything to say on that?
She mean I'm finna bag out, but it's Chiluba. And you hear brother Asar, he talks about Chiluba a lot, but I'll let some of the other brothers chime in, Sean or brother Satip.
Yeah, man. I don't know who that guy is. I don't care either, though, for real, because as long as we know what the mean, as long as we know we can render down the meaning. If we under the agreement that we're talking about the land, you know what I'm saying? It could be called Chaluba, whatever, So that's where I'm at with it. I ain't really stuck on all that stuff like that for real.
Yeah,
Because I feel
does
like
it?
that's the whole man, like that stuff of how you'll be trying to figure out that stuff, and then you just lose focus on what you really need, like what we really here for. Is we really here to figure that out, or like I don't know. I just don't focus on it. Go ahead, Cole.
The people call it Kemet. I'm gonna call it Kemet. Man, are we on 71 yet? Please.
Go ahead, Sean. Go back. We can go back to 71 and we
Oh,
go.
okay. Oh,
Nah,
yeah.
I missed it because my cousin called me.
I didn't go in on that yet.
Oh,
Okay,
okay.
I'm waiting.
Yeah,
I'm waiting.
we're gonna do this, and then I think T'Challa got 73. Was it 73 or 76? T'Challa.
73.
Okay, so I'm gonna do this. Then you rock out with that one. Then one of y'all come up with something else. All right, so let me go into this. Let's see. What was I supposed to start at? Okay. The fact of all, the fact of black rulers, however, it is not important as the fact of an indigenous black population from which they sprung. For these early blacks, hold on. Yeah, for these early blacks themselves, a great people, excellent on many fronts from a line of builders so distant in the past that it seems to have extended into the Stone Ages. It was a society of scientists, scholars, organized religion with organized priesthoods, mathematics, scribes, architects, engineering, engineers, standing armies and generals, stone and brick masons, carpenters, artisans, sculptors, cloth makers, slaves, farmers, teachers, gold, silversmiths, blacksmiths, and so on through the widest spectrum of the advanced society. So he talking about Kemet right here. You know what I'm saying? And this is powerful because we talking about something 5,000 years ago. 5,000 years ago, man, and it was and like he said, if you put it in perspective, and you think 5,000 years ago, and then you start where it says it was a society of scientists, scholars, organized religion, like it's just mind blowing, man. If you read that and just put the time in perspective, what y'all think about that?
Yeah, and that was something else too on 71. I know Sean got something because I went back and I like to highlight stuff in my book, so I highlighted everything in there because that's important. And Unc mentioned this earlier when I asked him about the question of how important scientific literacy is, and he got to talking about the technology that Africa did, and if it wasn't for Africa, you wouldn't have a missile, you wouldn't have plane, all these different things, right? So, and in volume 1, I talk about a lot of misleading terms. So I share like a lot of misleading terms. So, and even with the people, even our own people, and I don't speak just for the African American or not our African American. Most of our people think that Africa was primitive, and you talk about, just like I was having a conversation with my wife, and she was looking at a book that I just bought from an author that we're gonna have on the panel. This book right here, I'm waiting on another book to come. It's called Moving the Gunner, and Mary will be on she'll be on the author's perspective next Sunday. And she was looking at the book because it was sitting on my desk, and she called me, and she got to talking about it. I was talking about repatriating, right? So in her mindset, she started thinking that Africa was primitive. So I got upset with her because she started talking about certain things that she read in school, certain things that deal with the biblical narratives about Africa being primitive. But how can it be primitive if you go back to 5,000 years ago? And as Chancellor Williams stated, as you read, Satep, it says that it was a society of scientists, scholars, organized religion with organized priesthood, mathematics, scribes, architects, engineering, standing armies, general stone, brick stones, carpentry, artists, sculptors, cults, makers, farmers, slaves, teachers, gold, silversmiths, and blacksmiths. So these were people that had, was very, was very scientific literate. So, and even when Unc was talking about the master box, he was talking about the form of the master box, being just one flat surface, and then you start to see doing not Khufu, but Zolger, Nasut Biddy's Zolger. He started to evolve the step pyramids. Then you go into Khufu, Kaffa, Menkaure when you started to get into the brick, but they started off as limestone. And not limestone, but they started out as mud and brick, emulating the ants and the anteaters as they began to build their housing in mud. So they began to emulate that, and then they began to create their own housing with the mastodon and mud brick, and then they went into brick, brick and mortar and stuff like that. So in order to erect these great edifices, they had to be engineers. They had to know math, have a great skill set in mathematics. So this place was not primitive. So I mean, I and I'm gonna stop because I know Sean got something, he want to talk about in this chapter too. But this was very important, man, that you laid out, man, that Africa was not a primitive country and they were very scientific literacy. But I want to go in something else a little bit later about Kemet. Who was the Remicjo? Was it one group of people? Was it a set of people? But let's go ahead, Sean.
First of all, man, I just want to welcome the God Killer to the panel. You know what I mean? Because he's in the building with us right now. And he's one of the influences or reasons why we read and are reading Destruction of a Black Civilization. So it's also only fitting that he also went into this particular chapter of the book in a different conversation to prove his point and argue his point with our African brothers and sisters, brothers on the other side of the Atlantic. So I'm gonna yield my time because you kind of touched on a couple of things that I said, and that's why I knew what Satep was gonna say, and I was prepared. So I'm gonna yield my time, and I'm gonna let Brother Unc. I'm gonna ask Brother Unc, do he wanna expound on page 71? And that's what we at so far in the book, or is there something else you want to touch on?
What page you say, yo? 172?
Nah. 71.
What's he talking about?
He introduced people to who the Remich are. Satepara read it again for us, Satepara, please. He probably
City
did
of
some
Ptah, Thebans.
All right, I'll read it again.
Yeah.
So it says, the fact of black. Hold on, I need to get this dang on thing. It says the fact of the black rulers, however, is not as important as the fact of an indigenous black population from which they sprang. For these early blacks were themselves a great people, excelling on many fronts from a line of builders so distant in the past that it seems to have extended into the Stone Ages. It was and he goes into what they were right here. It was a society of scientists, scholars, organized religion with organized priesthood, mathematics, scribes, architects, engineers, standing armies and generals, stone and brick masons, carpenters, artists, sculptors, cloth makers, slaves, farmers, teachers, gold and silversmiths, blacksmiths, and so on. So it's basically saying like this is an advanced society. You know what I'm saying? 5,000 years ago, and when I read that, I'm like, wow, this is. You put that in perspective. Like I said earlier, you put that in perspective, man. It's mind blowing.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. That's where you understand what the Stone Age is, and it's a document with Chicane Diops is that the Cairo Symposium that our community always mess up because don't nobody ever read. They say, well, Diops won and Bill Fago Banker won. No, that's not how that went down. But there were key points that Theophile Bang and Diops brought out. Diops talked about who was the first to inhabit the Nile River because they were societies. And that's what he won the day at. He won the day of talking about Neolithic, Paleolithic, and Stone Age Africans inhabited the river. And they would go back and forth on the ebb and flow as as the rain stopped and the tilt wobbled the earth, actually caused the rain in the deserts to flow back and forth, right? So the Africans would migrate back and forth. Chancellor also talks about Libya, right? The Libyans and all that, and how they was Asiatics, how a lot of some Libyans were Asiatics, some was Africans. He talks about that, right? So he puts it in perspective on who they was, but absolutely, positively, Nile Valley culture, right? River culture was an indigenous African culture, no matter what they say. And the culture extended from the Stone Age. So by the time you see the crucible or the coming together of African culture in the Nile Valley, by the time they start unifying and calling it Egypt, man, you're looking at thousands of years of African history before that. And everybody forgets that. Remember when they started calling them Egyptians, they was mixed with the Asiatics. It was a war, Nama. You called it unification, it was a war against those heavy Asiatic populations in the Delta that have been there for about 10,000 years in the Delta. They've been in the Delta for a long time, right? So this war was a unification war, right? And the Africans wasn't having it from the South. They wasn't buying it. And they fought a war. Now these Asiatics lived as Africans, okay, the same way we live as Americans, but we not Europeans, but we live as Europeans, and we call ourselves African Americans, but we're not Europeans. You feel me? So the same thing with there. And these raggedy scholars, they play on that. These Europeans, they witness against themselves on that. And Chancellor clearly shows you got Afro-Asians, you got Caucasians or Afro-Asians or white, and he explained what he meant by white, right? And you got the indigenous African population, and you got the Asiatics that fought just as hard for Egypt against their white counterparts. So it's the chapter is a must read if you want to really know. He talked about the Thebans. You know what I'm saying? Thebes, ancient city, city of Batar, ancient cities. You know what I'm saying? He talked about the ancient black cities. Okay, that still had Asiatic presence in there, just like in the United States, they got the Mexican population, right? They work, they live as Americans, but they really Mexican Americans. They do building, but when Mexicans be working on construction sites, are they using Mexican construction? No, they're using American construction. So when you see those Asiatics working on the pyramids and all that, are they using Asiatic Asiatic science and technology? No, they don't build nothing in Asia. There's no pyramid structures in Asia. You got to go all the way to Sumer, and there ain't nothing but a bunch of mud. So I think you gotta get it. You get people arguing bananas. You get people talking, well, we don't know how you calling Egypt black. And man, first of all, the river is 4,100 miles. Second of all, if you go down to Nabata,
Not the
Playa. I said that wrong all the time. Not the Playa. They well organized before Egypt. At 6,000, they building stuff in the sand that's matching up with the heavenly bodies in the sky. They well organized. They religion that they practice later on will become Egyptian religion. So for the life of me, right? If you don't read this book, you will miss all of that. If you don't read the Cairo Symposium with that book, you'll listen to the community say, they'll fall banging Diop's and them. They beat all the Europeans. That's not even how it was. It was a good stand-up, knockout, drag-out fight. Diop's and them took their blows, and the Europeans took their blows. But Diop's, what he did was he usurped them, and this is what I learned. That's why I go back to South Africa 160,000 years. I go all the way back. That's what Diop did. He said, who was the first inhabitants on the damn river? And the white boy was saying, well, you don't know how would you know? And Diop's like, wait a minute. Based off of evolution, based off of the Rift Valley and Homo sapiens sapiens, man, they was at the end up at the river. So I'm saying, man, for me, destruction of black civilization, was all inspiring, and it really actually, nailed it for me. So this chapter right here is a valuable chapter in understanding Kemet.
Okay, and then I want to go. I want to read this next chapter that precedes or that follows that, and it's dealing with the language. And T'Challa, you appreciate this. It's the second paragraph. It says on same page 71. It says Africa as the cradle of civilization meant exactly that. These blacks developed one of the oldest written languages. The Egyptian language was an African language with later Asiatic influence. It said later. So all these people talking about Mesopotamia started it. No, it came later. Similar to that of Arabic or the African language known as Swahili. So he gives you a comparison right here. So he's saying basically, Africa's the cradle of civilization, started the oldest written language, and for all the people out there that think Mesopotamia came first, it didn't. That's it.
You trying to mic drop on that topic, bro?
Yeah, I did a little bit. Well, I mean, people like to say that, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah, you're absolutely correct.
And I don't want to take nothing away from Mesopotamia, because Mesopotamia is a great civilization. I mean, if you look and you study geography, you know, they created a lot of aqueduct systems over there where it's a desert, you know what I'm saying? So they are a great people in history as well. And I hate for people to try to put Egypt against Mesopotamia when, you know, they coexisted and they did trade and all that stuff. They both great civilizations. I wouldn't want to put one before the other, but I mean, if we got to, we're gonna put Egypt first. So drops Mike.
Yep. I agree in total context, but I like the way that he worded that in at the very beginning. You know what I mean? He talked about the cradle of civilization, which which goes back to Unc's argument. Like every time, some kind of weird way, his argument is injected into the discussion. Because when you talk cradle of civilization, and then you talk about evolution or the evolving of uh, Homo sapiens sapien from going from, so like he just said, South Africa, venturing up to East. And I want to throw this out there, not as a shameless plug, but just because of the way that I was thinking about, the children's book, One Night Before Bed. I specifically wrote that book with that same concept of where did civilization start, the cradle of civilization. So we start in South Africa and we go east, and then we go northeast and we come on around to the west and then central. And over time, you if you look at migrational patterns and things of that nature, you start to see things. Yeah, go ahead.
I can't hear it.
You sound far away, or you went on mute. Somebody listening on the YouTube too. Okay, he muted out. He muted out.
Go ahead.
No. Go ahead, Unc. You was gonna say something.
No, I'm saying so there's reasons why Homo sapiens sapien ended up in South Africa. It was ice ages, and most people don't study geography. Man, my damn daughter got a book. Hold on. Talking about geography.
Kobe, your mic is muted if you saying something.
Yeah, he muted. Yeah, I got this book right here. It's on geography. This my daughter book. So in my daughter's book, so she using it this year. This is a 2020 joint geography. So right here in this book is is talking about different types of maps. And it's talking about the Peterson projection map. We've been teaching about the Peterson projection map for the last 15, damn near 20 years. And now it's made into publications, human geography, that they're using in schools now. Okay, so, we stay ahead of the game. But South Africa is where the Africans went during the Great Ice Age, and the whole human population was wiped out everywhere on planet Earth. At 160,000, they find as of 2020, they have found no Homo sapiens sapien bones anywhere at that age, but in South Africa. And I'm saying these dudes got ran all the way to the tip of South Africa in these cave systems where the water levels had shrunk based off of the ice ages sucking up the ice. Okay, this is where they find the first cognitive thinking, tool making, early tool making, harpoons. You know what I'm saying? Fire, not just fire, control of fire at about 80, 90,000 years. All up and down, and now you start to find these microliths. What are microliths? You put them on the end of sticks, and they cut grains and grasses down. They find grinding stones. This is what dudes ain't talking to you about. And it was based off of reading the Destruction of Black Civilization. It made me go in deep time on Earth. Do you know what a grinding stone is? It's where you grind your wheats and barleys. Because you just can't eat it straight, so they grind it out. And they can tell by the teeth if you had grinding stones or not, because the teeth get grind down because of the grit that's in the wheats, you know what I'm saying, and the millets. So these grinding stones, 90,000 years, harpoons, 90,000, microliths, cutting down grains and grass. Man, they made you think that farming was the pinnacle. Nah, being able to just harvest the stuff that's growing naturally is really the pinnacle. Farming represents, quote unquote, farming represents failure for these crops to grow naturally. All right, simple as that. And so I say that, right, because you mentioned Mesopotamia, and they try to play the game that farming and all that stuff. So what if it did? We didn't need to farm because it was growing naturally. And the variety of wheats that you find in Asia, it came from Ethiopia. And we know the rule because we study evolution. You feel me? All right. Wherever you find the most variety at is where it started at.
And I'm actually working on something right now to where I'm saying that farming started in Africa. So like I'm connecting these dots, right? So it's so you got about 5 cradles of civilization. You really got 5. But they all happen in different time periods based on the migration of man. And they all are in valleys, right? So you got the Great Rift Valley. That's number 1. Then you go up, then you got the Mesopotamia area. That's a valley area. Then you got the Indus Valley. Then you go over to China. It's a valley over there. I can't remember what it's called. But these, like China didn't start before Indus. Indus didn't start before Mesopotamia. Mesopotamia didn't start before Great Rift Valley. So it's these 5 different civilizations that came about during the farming age. We gotta put that in context, man. We gotta put it in context.
Do me a favor. Don't put too much value on farming. That's the trick. Don't get tricked.
Yeah. Well, I'm working on something, so I'm tying something together with farming. I ain't gonna go into.
No, I'm just trying to let you know.
Yeah.
You get a chance. I need you to read Black Athena, book 3, chapter 2.
I got it too. I got a PDF of it.
Can I chime in for just a moment, gentlemen, and do a shameless plug, if y'all don't mind? In Spirits of the Masi, chapter 1, we discuss this, even the grinding stones. And what I bring in to show the wedding of the two, and what I would like to do, Satep, is once again track those migrational patterns of those cattle. Because if you follow those cattle from being in the cave arts in South Africa, you follow that red orca, you follow the patterns of this technology and tool making that Brother Unc was talking about, is going to help you, Satep, with that agricultural and cultural developments. But Unc, with those grinding stones, have you ever heard them referred to as digging sticks? They have another term for it, but they was talking about the origins of those grinding stones might have started with women making these what they call digging sticks to hunt for larvae and small insects as well. Have you heard anything about that or read anything about that?
You're on mute if you're talking.
I'll probably stepped away, but we ready. We can move on a little bit though. T'Challa, if you ready to get it up on what page was that? 73.
Yeah, we can go ahead.
Yeah, let's get it, man. Let's keep it moving.
All right. So we bring up the issue of language. We're dealing with things in terms of names and what was exonymic, and endonymic, and so who named who? Is it the outer name? Was it outside people naming it, or what did they call them? Because we really don't ask that question. What are Black people on the continent calling reality? This is speaking even to the point of the tilt and wobble of the earth, the axis of the earth, and rivers drying up and swelling in certain areas in the Sahara, going back and forth from being a Sahara to lush greenland to a Sahara to lush greenland and all of these things. You don't think our ancestors had names for what was going on, being that we're intelligent beings with the ability to create sophisticated sounds in a rhythmic pattern, and we call that language? Like what? Like it's an insult to black intelligence when you say that, oh, people before Galileo and such and such and such and such, they had no concept of this in science. Man, that really hurts me. But let's see what Chancellor Williams says on page 73. Um at the top, ending off from page 72, I'm gonna just read at many were nationalistic Egyptians, and as such, fought the invaders along with Africans. Others, though born in Egypt also, were loyal to their fathers' native countries and sided with their armies. Now coming to this next paragraph, pay attention. Since the first to be called Egyptians exclusively were half African and half Asian, their general hostility toward to their mother's race was a social phenomenon that should not be passed over lightly, or like Brother Ankh like to say, glossed over. Even though that development followed a universal pattern and therefore was not peculiar to the Egyptians. Its nature is essentially opportunist, a quest for security, recognition, and advancement by identifying with and becoming a part of the new power elite of the conquerors. So that's a mouthful right there, right? So let's back up for a second. Since the first to be called Egyptians exclusively were half African and half Asian, their general hostility to their mother's race was a social phenomenon that should not be passed over lightly. Right there. When we deal with the biblical narratives, and then anybody that want to say something, I'm gonna go ahead and yield the mic. When we're dealing with the biblical narrative, what's one of the things we understand about Abrahamic faiths in regards to the respect for, I'm gonna say, the black woman at this point first. Um, in regards to black women, because black women have an interesting place in society, like for the last couple thousand years, at the bottom of the totem pole with
That's
the
right.
disrespect.
That's right.
So I asked the question, and I'm gonna yield the mic, you know what I'm saying, for until we move forward with the rest of the page. What do we know about Abrahamic faiths with their regard to black women?
I
Nothing good.
mean,
That one.
they. Oh, go ahead, brother.
They in Palestine, yo. They ain't nobody mess with no goat herders, yo. Ain't nobody. Man, go ahead, man. Yo, say the Hebrews and how they treat women, man. Come on, yo. They was rendered obsolete. The Hebrews they was done. They had to up their game. You know what I'm saying? Like they didn't get back into the game until you get the state of Israel and all that. You know what I'm saying? Like they ain't even in the game, man. That's why the Chancellor book show you where we. That's why the book is so valuable because it show you where you won, where you lost. You know what I'm saying? Where you played a role in it, and that's why I think the book is essential for real. Because it don't play the quote unquote we the greatest ever lived. He don't play that. He let you know. He let you know that you got conquered by religion. He let you know that you didn't use the metal, right? So if you harvest metal, I'm saying how if you go to South Africa, you got some of the oldest iron mines on planet Earth. I think it's in Zimbabwe somewhere. Dr. Ben talks about in his work the oldest iron mines, but you don't use it. Egyptians know about iron. You can go to West Africa and y'all know we have some of the oldest smoking iron mines. Well, why the hell do the Persians come in with iron swords and slice your ass up? Right, because you wasn't using it. Gunpowder, Diop in his book, his brown book. What is it? The origin, African origin civilization. Is that the one? The brown one? Yeah, he talks about having Egyptians having gunpowder used for ceremonial purposes. So I'm saying we left a lot on the table, man. You know what I'm saying? Like, you got to get in the Egyptians were so successful because they was in an arms race. And when they lost that arms race and didn't keep up, that was, it was done. But go ahead. Go ahead.
No, I was just gonna comment on what he was saying too about the women. They didn't raise their women up in that culture. If you go and look, according to the biblical narrative, the woman was considered to be bad. I mean, the woman was supposed to be quiet. She wasn't a teacher, which we know and we look and we observe that the woman, teaches, is the first teacher. You know what I'm saying? She teaches the child his name, not identify with the opposite sex to her, which is her father, etc. And even you look at it tells you that the woman is because man is in sin. The fall of man is because of the woman. And it tells you that God is above man, according to the biblical narrative. God is above man, and man is above woman. So, i.e., we have these concepts that this is a man's world. You know what I'm saying? Man is the head of the household. You know what I'm saying? There's no angels, there's no women in heaven because they don't refer to any women in heaven. The closest they get to raising or elevating a woman in the biblical narrative when you get to the book of Esther. When they talk about Esther, that's the closest you get. But they do, but they don't uplift their women. You know what I'm saying? So, just to your point, to your question, they don't, they treat their women bad in their culture.
Anybody else? Okay. I'm gonna move down to where it says, no, I need to read the next, going into the next paragraph. I about have all of this highlighted too. I highlighted my books. I write in my books. I started off doing that ever since I could, really read and really write in a proficient enough manner to where it didn't look like chicken scratch all over the page. I've always took notes because I will come on the live streams, tuning in to the very brothers that's on this panel, and I would be sitting there like, man, it's the reason why I got the book in my head, like Sean said. It's the reason why I'm reading this book because I think I ordered this book from Brother Unc. And it's important to pay attention and to, like you said, read this book because it's essential. Oh, Sister Mika, I'm gonna let we're gonna deal with that, I'm sure, but let's see. The invading conquerors not only capture and control all political and economic power by military might, but even though they might be nomadic barbarians, they generally claim to be from a higher civilization and therefore reinforce the myth of being superior in fact and not just because of military conquest. So that's real important right there. If people really didn't catch what he said, that they generally, because we talk about this all the time and there's nothing new. This is what we understand this, like those of us that care to understand history from the African perspective, like what are our natives on the continent saying what happened with invaders coming in? Like, are they using certain words that to describe foreigners that we really don't find in the glyphs? Or excuse me, the sesh? Or you know what I'm saying? Like we really need to understand the narrative from the African perspective. Um Move forward. Even if no such claim is made, the new ruling classes and all members of their race are superior vis-a-vis the indigenous or conquered people. Uh, Expediency and survival itself dictates loyalty and faithful service to the Asian masters in the regions over which they had gained control, first in northern Egypt. This meant that even in the beginning, siding with the Asians was not solely determined by whether one was half breed or full blooded African. Blacks who did not choose to flee south but remain under Asian rule, even if enslaved, worked harder to gain recognition and acceptance than any other group. Indeed, so anxious were some of these early blacks for integration with the Asians that they themselves did most in creating the new breed of Egyptians who were to become their mortal enemies. Now, let's stop right there for a second. What is he telling us? Anybody? So I'm on here by myself.
I guess that I ain't gonna even lie. I was doing. Can you hear me?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I didn't hear the last paragraph, man. I was doing something and I didn't hear the last paragraph. I apologize.
We talking about in early. He said this meant that even in the beginning, siding with the Asians was not solely determined by whether one was a half breed or a full blooded African. Blacks who did not choose to flee south but remain under Asian rule, if enslaved, worked harder to gain recognition and acceptance than any other group.
Sounds like the same thing that the same problems we experience today. I deal with West Africa more so than Egypt, but even in West Africa, you can see that same thing. And what what would happen is that if you remove yourself from the culture and you side with the enemy's culture, you no longer a part of that culture. Say, for instance, the Arabs. If you follow Islam in its entirety and turn your back on your traditional systems, they would consider you an Arab, even though you were a sub-Saharan African. They would consider you an Arab. They would call you an Arab because you abandoned your traditional religions and beliefs. And like even over here in America today, we see that same thing today too.
Yeah, I
Mm-hmm.
agree with that too, Tech. Like that's what I was getting ready to say is that sounds like what we going through here today, man. And yeah, it's crazy how this book you get to reading it and then stuff start coming around full circle. So, especially when you in a discussion with people. So yeah, I feel that.
Okay. I'm gonna give this last sentence in this paragraph and I'm gonna move forward because this is a healthy chapter and I'm not sure how much time we was really
Healthy,
trying.
man. No, we can kick it, man. I ain't tripping tonight.
Okay. Um so last sentence of this paragraph. Um for in an all out effort to appease the invaders, they freely gave their daughters and other desirable females as gifts to become concubines, thus speeding up the reproduction process on an ever widening scale. Nor did this lessen the wholesale capture of women in raids on African villages for the same purpose and for export to Asia. Okay, so I'm gonna speak my piece on this one first because I know people probably falling asleep and whatnot, and it's cool. Um, so when we talk about raiding African villages and the taking of black women, I could pull up another tab and go into the statistics of how many black women have gone missing in America in the last, I don't know, 5 years. Just five. How many black women have gone missing in America from 2020 back to 2015? Okay. And so I could take this same time period and I could jump 500 years. I could jump 1,000, 2,000 years. And we have evidence of somebody coming into where black people live and doing what? Trying to change their culture, trying to tell them what food to eat, how to dress, what to put in their house, how their house should look. Matter of fact, this ain't even your house no more. You get out, come work for me, working on the house, and then, you know what I'm saying, I might feed you some scraps. You completely disenfranchise the people. The fact that we on here speaking English, I say this a lot, but yo, I really dislike this language, yo. Because with the existence of English, you have to say that Africans were primitive. Etymologically speaking, the word black ain't got nowhere room positive in the English language. Period. So if you really gonna understand Africa, you really gonna get into these cultures where, like Brother Unc be talking about, like everything in nature looks at something else to know what to do. We're looking at these termite mounds going way back, and you see how intelligent these smaller life forms are. That nowadays, if we was to see in our house, the first thing we do is squish, squish, squish. Yet if we just squish, 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 if our ancestors just kept squish, 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 we wouldn't be looking at no termite mounds. We wouldn't be looking at no ant hills. Just, I feel like we're so disconnected from nature, especially from a fighter standpoint. You miss it. You know what I'm saying? You miss it. You don't just become a champion by just going in there and throwing your fist at bags and then sparring with people. You know how many different other elements that go into making a champion? You must not know Ali's story. Like, we have to understand that our women and our people have been hunted, like, for real, for real. And we have to fight the fight intellectually first, doing what we're doing now. You know what I'm saying? It hurts to have all of these. Some of these people are our family members, our friends, our sisters, wives, daughters that have gone missing.
And would there, T'Challa, would there have been, you mentioned the ants, I mean, the anteaters, and I talked about this earlier about when we was talking about when I was talking about the pyramid age. They started building in mud first before they started building in lime, limestone and brick, right? If would there be a step pyramid, a pyramid of Khufu, Cafe, Menkaure, almost a second, and the list goes on. If they would have did exactly what you said, squish, 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 smash, 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 step, 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 because I know we look at nature and we don't see the greatness in nature. We despise nature. We against nature. And I understand why we despise and against nature, because we're looking at everything from a European perspective. So we don't appreciate nature. We don't appreciate what nature does. So if they squish, 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 smash, 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 would there be the first things you start to see in mud brick with those monster bots, and then elevating into the limestone, if they would have just did this and not observed everything in nature, because they learn from nature, they appreciate nature. So if they didn't appreciate nature, didn't learn from nature, would Kemet been a great civilization?
I'm gonna answer that question from my opinion first. Why did brother? I learned this from Brother Asar. Like, first of all, disclaimer, right? I'm not gonna come on here like I'm educating nobody about something that advanced with linguistics and anthropological studies as it pertains to Kemet. Like, we're gonna get that straight. Brother Asar mentioned one day he was on one of his bills and he said, "Yo, we the question asked about the structures, the columns in Kemet. What were our ancestors depicting with these column structures? Well, they were in the desert, so they wasn't in those lush green forest lands with trees, right? And so they began to create an artificial environment mimicking what their homelands were, right? So to answer your question, Brother Kofi, if we see the dung beetle, the amazing, I don't know how many species of dung beetle that there are, but too many. Not too many, but you know what I'm saying, a lot. And we just decide all of those things that look like that have to go. If that was what the mindset of African people was, to look into nature and to extinguish an entire race of whatever, of any being, to cease it from being, I argue no. We wouldn't have even gotten to the point of being able to have civilization because African culture is ensconced in nature. Soliwulan, the Red Panther, the fetisher in West Africa. Soliwulan is a fetisher. He's a magician, as European was, societies would call it. He's a magician. And he does things that, like what they would say the magicians do. He's in control of science that you don't understand yet. Okay? He's a performing artist. His masquerade is saturated with the elements of his environment. Soliwulan, Red Panther, fetisher, Mandinka country. Like this is what it means to be African. Why do the people in the Omo Valley and with the red soil, why do they honor that? What does it do? I mean, we are connected. Like nature is us. We're not outside of the thing. We are a part of it. We are out of the evolutionary soup. The same energy. And we need it to replenish us. So no, we would not even be here if we just start tearing up our environment. And that's what we're doing right now. We tearing our environment up. I'll mute out.
All right. Yeah, that was nice, T'Challa. I appreciate that. So did anybody else have anything? Because I know y'all got y'all's books already marked up and all that. Kofi, what you working with over there, Kofi?
Oh no, I wasn't. I was just saying we could have moved on to the next page or whatever we wanted to move on to. I know the Sean that you had. Was Sean still on here? Yeah, Sean might be still out and about though.
Yeah, because I don't want to hog it up.
Yeah.
All right, Suteg, we ain't heard from Suteg. What's up, Suteg?
Yeah.
All right, hold on. Let me see. I got one. This is page 67. Page 67, and
I bet I know where you finna go. Go ahead, watch this.
Let me see. Second paragraph. In the middle towards the end of the second paragraph, it says, "For they were, as a race, too ready to forgive and forget past evils committed by foreigners, whereas, on the other hand, a fellow African tribe could easily become a traditional enemy and continue as such for many generations that no one could remember what the original quarrel was about." I think, again, studying West Africa, we see that same thing. And also, again, in current day North America, we see that same thing too as well. Some of our brothers are so eager to please uh, the European powers and the European people that they're quick to turn their back on their own people. So I just thought that quote was interesting from ancient times, from what third millennium BCE, all the way to the current, and we still dealing with that same problem.
Mm. And this was page. What page this was on? This was 67.
Yeah, this was page 67 in the second paragraph, in the middle of the second paragraph.
Oh, okay. I didn't even see that. I was trying to think. Okay. I thought you was gonna start down here at the bottom where it talks about the second and third dynasty. That's where I thought you was gonna go with.
What you got on it, Kofi? You holding out, man? Because I know your book marked up.
Yeah, it's marked up. I mean, but this was something that I did mark up for the show, man. But we can read it, man. I just seen it, that's what I thought about. On that
Oh, you
same,
know, I was going to the followers of Set.
yeah, yes, that's why I thought you was going. Sutek. But I'll read it, man. The second and third dynasty were also African. Most written will not flatly state this. The general designated these dynasties as the Thanite or Memphite or followers of Set. One has to know that the first dynasty was African and Memphites or Thanites, so called after the name of their sacred city Thanis, or the code of Seth of Ammon were African. That was the fourth dynasty was indigenous and equality clear. This was the chief pyramid builders, and the Great Pyramid being the large of the tallest building on earth until the modern time. It was built during the reign of Khufu in 2590 through 67 BCE. I'll just stop right there, man. But I just thought he was gonna deal with the followers of Set, and I know when we talk about Set, that's why I thought Sutek was gonna go into that part of just talking about Seth and during that period of time. I'll throw out this was during this period of time. I'll ask the people on the panel, and I know Sutek, you probably can answer this, or anybody in the chat. The followers of Set. Now, was Set depicted as a evil character during this particular time of the second and third dynasty, or even the fourth dynasty?
I get a chat time to catch up before I say something.
Yeah, because I know a lot of people, and we get this thing because I know we look at things from an Abrahamic perspective when we look at the devil, and I know some people consider Set to be the devil, and so forth. So was he the? So Zane says no. Zane says no. Anybody else? Because I know when we dealing with some of those different stories, dealing with Set, we only know one story, and most only know one story, and that's the story with Haru and Asar and a Set. That's only one story. There's numerous of different stories. So Zane says no. Lakeisha Dunn, I thought he was a warrior. She thought he was a warrior. So go ahead, go into it. Yeah, it's almost.
When people say or equate Set with evil, most times I feel like they've been watching too much Gods of Egypt or something. Because if you look at the depictions of Ra on his solar bark, a lot of times you're gonna see Set in the front defending them from a pep. You know what I mean? Helping him make his transition through the underworld to rise again. You know what I'm saying? And then you're gonna see that back in those times, Set was also one of the ones that you prayed to for him to help guide your dead family members through the underworld. So yeah, Set was not always looked at as a negative deity. Later on down the line, it came to be that way. But early in Kemet history, you can find Set playing some very important and pivotal roles. So no, you can't just make it that black and white like
that. Dang, I tried to run and go get a book to kind of validate what you were saying, But I know the book is called The Sun Coats of Ra. And it talks about exactly what you're saying in this book. This is a primary. I got this from Brother Saw. Brother Saw recommended this book a long time ago, and I actually used some of the work, and I can't even think of the author name in the book, but I used some of that work when I was writing.
Let me see.
See what the book?
Yeah.
Let me see if I can find it real quick. Give me 1 second. I was trying to go find. Hold on. Let me see if I can find it. I got so many books. Hold on.
Yeah, man, and it wouldn't be no. Do you think it would be a cult of Set if this dude was evil? You know what I'm saying? And Set, the cult of Set was in the South. It was in Upper Kenny. You know what I'm saying? So yeah, that's one of the big reasons why I mess with Set too. I know in the later cosmologies, Set becomes kind of like the antagonist or the bad guy. But if you look into the earlier cosmologies, you're gonna see something totally different.
Yeah, and, you know how a lot of kings they have the Haru name, right?
Right? They got their Set name too.
Yeah, they had a set name back in the day. Yep, in the early dynasties. Yep.
Yeah, man.
I got it, man. Shoot, I had rearranged my book, one of my bookshelves too, but this is right here, The Code of Ra, by Stevens Quirky, The Sun Worship of Ancient Egypt. And
yeah, I'm about to grab that right now because I need that for what I'm working on.
Yeah, and I'm telling you, it goes into a lot of, because I talk about that when I started doing my Ra document, the understanding the Ra and his many manifestations. I talk about that. I even got the things about the lenses of Ra, and you can see in my book, like I say, all I do is just, man, I got highlighted stuff everywhere, marks and stuff in here. So, and it details the information that he actually Sutek is actually talk about, and then it actually goes into when they started depicting Seth as this antagonist, or he started to be evil.
What you said is Stephen Corky?
Yeah, Stephen Corky.
Okay.
Hold on. And for people that here, let me zoom in on it. And this is the book that was recommended by Sar Imhotep, and this was back in 2015 or something that I purchased this book. When he mentioned this book, he mentioned another book, and I used a lot of information from this book when I started writing the book that never came out, the Ra document, and the many manifestations of Ra. But it was numerous of books, but this was one of the books that I pulled a lot of information out from, and it's a very good book, a very good read too. And again, it's The Coast of Ra, the Sun Worship of Ancient Egypt. And
I can't remember where I read that when the foreigners, when them Asiatic foreigners started invading, that they started taking to the worship of Set, and then he kind of gradually turned into the bad guy or the antagonist.
Mm-hmm.
But like even as an antagonist, without an antagonist, how you gonna have a protagonist? How you gonna have a Haru or a Wusir if you don't got a Set? You know what I'm saying? So it's all in balance. It's all in my eye.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, his name was actually, I'm trying to find it. His name was actually in a lot of the Nasubitis was named after a lot of the deities that was in what's the name, you got some that's named after Amun Ra, some named after Ptah, some named after Haru, and etc. They're doing the earlier periods of that stage too. Might have been like in the 4th or 5th dynasty. I'm gonna see if I can find it in this book. But you had Nasubitis that was named after Seth. That was named after him.
The first presentation I ever put together was on the misconceptions of Set. I'm gonna have to redo that presentation and put it up on Kofi Pasai TV because I talk about all that.
Yeah, man. But we can move on to something else, man. If I can find it, I'll find it, man, and I'll show actually who is the king and the Shinnu with the king named after Seth doing, and this had to be either the 3rd of the fourth dynasty, if I'm not mistaken. But we can go to something else.
Hey,
Brother
go ahead, Kobe. I'm trying to get this food done real quick.
All right, what about you, bro? Unc, if you still on here, you got something else you want to touch on, man, in the book? I know he probably done stepped out, or he done jumped on the other side. What about you, brother Sean? Dang, I don't want to hog up everything too, but I'll jump back in. And Vasa, you got something, man? You hadn't touched on the chapter really that you wanted to touch on. We don't leave you out. I forgot you done got quiet. I forgot you was even on the panel.
Yeah.
I always got something to say, gentlemen. Y'all know that.
Go ahead, Vasa. I'm gonna follow up after you, Kofi, because I got something over here.
Okay.
I'm honestly making my daughter and son a snack, so I was just gonna let y'all rock out. But I am listening. I've been away from the phone and everything on the other side of the kitchen, but I'm listening to y'all.
Hold on, let me see. I guess I'll jump into something else. Let's go back to. We'll go back.
My bad, folks. I didn't want to cut you. I was trying to mute out. Y'all hear all that noise? Y'all hear all that noise? That's why I was trying to mute out.
Well, let's go back to 65, man. Let's go back to 65. Let's go back to the middle of this second paragraph. This small paragraph. It starts. This northern sector of Ethiopian Empire had been the object of the world attention from the earliest time. The fact was that it was in the center of the crossroad from all directions leading to Africa, to Asia, and to Europe. This also explains how the Asians came to occupy control of the fourth of Egypt, Lower Egypt, before the unification of the two lands in the millennium of BCE, which is kind of goes into what, I don't know if Sister Mikhail is on here. Let me see what her question was. In here, she said the Hikasu ruled. So many comments in here, man. I done missed it. I had it pinned up here a while ago. Let me see if I can find it, man. I can't find it up here. But it says this explains how the Asians came into occupy the control of the fourth, control a fourth of Egypt, lower Egypt, before the unification of the two lands in the third millennium. Somebody got something with the mic? Somebody? Hold on, let me mute out. What's the name? So, and Sister Mikhail, she posed a question about the Hikasu ruling Kemet. And yes, the Hikasu, the Hyksos, as a lot of people will refer to him as, and I think that if I'm not mistaken, the Remich refer to them as Asians. Am I correct with that? Any brother on the panel can correct me if I'm wrong, but I think they could refer, or they might even know, because they was also referred to as foreign rulers. So I mean, they could have been some of anybody, because even when you go back to hear what Chancellor Williams says, the fact that it was a center of a crossroads from all directions, leading from Africa, from Asia to Europe. So the Hyksos could have been some of anybody, even though we know that the Hyksos or the Hyksos control a small portion of Lower Egypt at a particular time, and they brought in some new technology. When you deal with the chariots, they brought in some new technology with the chariots to make the chariots move fast, and some other things. They brought that technology into Africa. You know, there's been talks of the Hyksos being the Hebrews, and I think this may be the reason why she brought that up. The Hyksos ruled Egypt at one, or I don't know if she said the Hyksos. I don't know if she was stating that the Hyksos ruled Egypt at one particular time, or did the Hyksos rules? I don't know if that was a question, but yes, the Hyksos, and I don't know exactly who the Hyksos could be because again, they are translated as foreign invaders, foreign leaders, or somewhere in that aspect. So they could be some of anybody that rule, and they didn't rule the entire Egypt. They only ruled a fourth of Egypt. But I pose the question, and this is to the panel, and this is to anybody in the chat. When we dealing with that, we know that Africa was not Africa, but Kemet was not only taken over by the Hyksos, which they did not take over, but a part of Lower Kemet. You know, we had Upper and Lower Kemet, Tai Mahu, and Tai Shaimu. I know I'm pronouncing the name wrong, but it's somewhere. I think it's Tai Mahu and Tai Shamu, but there were other people that came in. We know the Greeks, the Romans, the Arabs that came in, the Amu, and other people that came in. Was that the downfall of Kemet? Well, we started to see a bunch of these people. They started allowing these foreigners to come into the land. Is when we started to see Kemet start to deteriorate and begin to fall by accepting and letting everyone come into the land and cohabitates in their society and so forth.
Say that again.
I was asking that was this the downfall of Kemet? You know, we're talking about the Hyksos right now. And I'm saying the Hyksos weren't the only people that actually took over Egypt at a particular time. You had the Greeks, you had the Romans, you had the European or the Amu, you had I think the Assyrians. You had so many different people that came in that Kemet allowed to come in. That took over, so it wasn't the Hyksos, just only the Hyksos. So them allowing people to come into the land, was that their downfall? Was that Kemet downfall? Was this the time when we started to see Kemet start to deteriorate after these different invasions? Or are they allowing certain people to come in and so forth?
Yeah, I think so. They had too big of open arms. They was allowing too many different groups to be able to come in and settle and or invade or etc. So yeah, I definitely think so. That integration once again messed us up.
It's crazy, like you're saying, we're seeing this stuff come full surface. I mean, this stuff is that we're studying about that happened.
Can I ask you a Kofi? Can I ask a question off of that, Kofi, though?
Oh, now you want to ask a question. We asked you to read a chapter, and you couldn't read a chapter, but now you come back to want to ask a question. Go ahead, brother.
Hey, I thought the rule. I thought the rules was these black babies come first.
Yeah, you right. You right. Go ahead.
I got one. Let me have that one. No, serious though. With what you just said, Kofi, with it being a downfall, right? And let's do a cross comparison of foreign invaders coming into a geographic location, right? How can we say they ever failed or anything like that when we can look back and still see their presence? You still get to see the greatness of Kemet. You still get to see the greatness of Africa. When we talk about, these conversations leading into these ABO conversations, a lot of these people got wiped out. Think about how much human activity has been erased from the records. But what their greatness did is allowing future generations to still talk about them. We are not going to be the last generations to talk about these groups of people. And to me, you can't see a failure in that. You have to see the learning and just what this is, the human history in that. There is no failure in that. And we have to stop looking at where we failed, and we have to start looking at all the things in this world that we did do right. The conversation started in with look at the greatness of these Africans inventing Stone Age technology and how it amplifies or evolves over time. So I don't want to say that we look at this as a failure, just like I don't want to say the future you know, that statement, well, the previous generation dropped the ball. I don't believe that. I think we just have to be, those of us that's intelligent enough, we have to be the ones who say this is the story and these are the greatness of that story. Now, when we look at these foreign invasions in this admixture of different people and spheres of influence, kind of plug the books back again, just don't lose yourself. And if you feel like you want to make these changes, you know, we talk about the changes in the mythology and these creation stories and all these things that make the culture. We can make changes, but we need to be the ones that make those changes. Don't let those outsiders make the changes for you. That's how I would answer your question, Kofi. I'm gonna go back to you, but I don't necessarily want us to look back and reflect on failures. I want y'all to always look back and reflect on your greatness and your individual potentials to grab greatness.
Kofi,
So I'll go
Yeah,
back to you.
Kofi,
go ahead. Go ahead.
re-ask your question for me one time.
Okay. And my question was the invaders. We were talking about the Hyksos
Right.
a while ago. We was talking about the Hyksos, and we was talking about they own a fourth of Kemet, which was Lower Egypt. And this is not the only group of people that we seen come into Africa. You know what I'm saying, and take over parts of parts of Kemet. So my question was, when we started to allow other people, or when they started to allow other people, invaders, I know we had different people come in and invade and, you know, and
Right.
wage war, but we had people that they allowed to come into Kemet. This is when we start to see that Kemet start to deteriorate. So my question is, did Kemet deteriorated or fell because of them allowing other people to come in and cohabitate and live amongst them?
Yeah. Okay. So the short answer to the question is absolutely. You see this with the coming of the white man, just like the Arab. If you just look at recent history, anytime you allow another people along to change the cultural paradigm of your people, you run the risk of losing your true identity or yourself in your moment. And it's just like the Masi prophecy that we always lean on. Think about how powerful the prophecy for the Masi is, and when we speak in reference to that. So yeah, the short answer is just that. Now, what did they contribute to African society or to the Nile that helped them advance the Nile into um, the next generation of great minds, great thought, and whatever solutions. Now, do we ever sit back and be like, "Well, the Hiscos brought with them X, Y, and Z, which helped them advance the civilization further via X, Y, and Z." We don't we don't argue over that. Can we really take a look at what the Hiscos contributed to ancient Kemet's history? And then you only see it for a period of time before you see that the Hiscos is now gone, per se. You see what I'm saying? So, what was their contribution in ancient Kemet? For us to even look at that, you know, there was a big gap. What was it? I can't think of how big the gap is, but there was a big gap or a lapse in time where things just wasn't right around the way. You know what I mean? Like think if you think about the history over there along the Nile. I really don't want to dwell on it too much longer, but yeah, man, the short and skinny for me is anytime you let somebody in your house and they get too comfortable, they start trying to influence you to adapt some of the things that they got going on. You know what I mean? And that's just how it all go down. It always go down like that. Let me come live at your house for a year. And I guarantee you by the time I leave your house, you're gonna be doing some of the stuff that I was doing in your house that you wasn't doing before I got there. Now, where that leave with you and your wife when I get gone, that's on you. I ain't got nothing to do with that. I'm gone. But that could be detrimental to your marriage and your relationship.
Home record, Sean.
Nah, I
Did
ain't
Sean
saying
just try to sneak in the capital P conversation?
nah, I ain't saying all that. I'm just trying to give y'all the best example of what the influence of other people can have on you, positively or negatively. And I don't see the Hyksos invasion as a positive outcome for Africans along the Nile.
Hey, I wanted to
So when the
comment on what
European came
Lakeisha
into
Doe was saying.
Africa years later, did they not call that spheres of influence? They was calling that spheres of influence, meaning they was highlighting the places they was going to exploit. These were spheres of influence for them potentially taking over and usurping what they did. So yeah, Sean hit it on the head. Just do not let them come in and take over. Don't do that.
Kofi, you muted. But I did want to comment on.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. My bad. I was asking you. Go ahead. You want to deal with Sister Lakeisha Dunn question? Peace, Sister Lakeisha Dunn. I'm glad you done calm down too, sis. But peace.
Yeah.
Well, first of all, I ain't calling them no dang on Egyptian. Let me be quiet. Go ahead.
Okay. Right. First of all, Brother Sean, thank you, because that's the first, and that this ain't my passion and my voice is never towards like the person, like, oh, I'm attacking the person, because I'm just as outraged as she is over the matter. Because I'm gonna give y'all an example. Over here where I live, just like I'm pretty sure where you live, the people that we go to pay to pump our gas, they don't necessarily look like us. They don't necessarily talk the same language. They don't necessarily, they have a different kind of culture. And that doesn't necessarily make them bad people. But let's just say we know where they're from. They're Arabs. And we know that today it's actually referred to as the Arab Republic of Egypt, if I'm not mistaken, right? So, first of all, I have a problem with not the issue ain't why do they want to have a problem with us. I got a problem with them wanting to Arab anything, name anything about what's on the continent landmass that we refer to as Africa, what's ours. You see what I'm saying? I have a problem with that because, like Sean said, and like I said earlier, you want to walk in somebody else's house and you want to start telling them about how they finna run things and what they gonna call it. I have a huge problem with that because I don't go into other people's houses and I don't tell them that they need to hang up masks of different masquerades that honor women and different masquerades for agriculture and different masquerades for the griots. I don't tell them to do that about cultures that they never heard of. But yet, if you have a painting and you have some Da Vinci hanging up, you got some of this hanging up, you got a Shakespeare quote up on the wall somewhere. Oh, he has good feng shui. Yeah, okay. I have a problem with that. They know that they're Arabs. And when you ask them, because I had to tell somebody at the gas station that your people did not build the pyramids, because he said it real slick in the conversation like I didn't hear him. Yeah, back when we built the pyramids, I said, well, who built the pyramids? I'm Egyptian. I'm like, okay, let's get this straight. What language? You speak Arabic, right? Yes, I'm Arab.
Yeah,
Okay.
you're a 600-year-old Egyptian.
Right. I say,
That's the truth. I mean, let's give them that right now. They living there, man. They flag there, and it say Arab. It said on the flag. You just said what it's called. It said. We know what it's called right now. So when you tell the truth about that, like, listen, man, they came in and they wanted their piece of the pie. They wanted their piece of the pie. They ran off the other invading people that were there 600 years ago. So they wanted their piece of the pie. They wanted their rule. They felt like they were entitled to that as well. They saw some things in it that they could benefit from. And this is how it go down. But let's give them that, T'Challa. They did what they did. Now it's not a lot of us left over. Well, not a lot of Africans left over there. They're in pockets or they're in the South. But as far as the ancient history go, they can't claim that. But you just said you had to correct somebody on the pyramid. And that's tough.
Yeah, and y'all know me. Like I try to keep my cool with people in the conversation because you know what I'm saying. I'm one of those that's gonna definitely get shot on sight too. Like I'm definitely a threat to society. Like in terms of Eurocentric minds, like a black man who not only will rock the red, black, and green colors, but he not swinging at us. So now we gotta plant the evidence on him. Yeah, done been around them situations where it could have been that. And this definitely could have turned to that because this particular clerk at the gas station, he seemed to have a lot to say about the northeast part of Africa. And I wanted to ask him, I said, your people built the pyramids. I said, okay, so where's Egypt? Well, I say, first of all, you just took too long. Yeah, tried to claim the pyramids. He can't name not one pyramid. It was like when the brother he kept saying the pyramids at Giza. And we was like, I mean, not we, Kofi and Shaw was like, Khufu. I keep saying Khufu. He's like, are you sure the one at Giza? That's how you know a person don't know what they talking about.
Hey man, them
Go ahead.
pyramids was built 20,000 years ago, bro. Okay, we gonna find out tomorrow
Oh
with
man.
the
Y'all
God
crazy,
killer.
man. Y'all ready to keep it moving what's
Hey,
up?
Chancellor
Yeah,
Williams killed that
let's keep
argument
it
too.
moving.
He killed that argument too. In this chapter too, matter of fact.
All right, I'm gonna slide over because this deal with I had to get that food together, but this deal with what we was talking about earlier. We was talking about the 11th dynasty and all that stuff, and we was talking about the Hyksos or the Asiatics and stuff like that. So I'm on page I'm on page 83. It's the first paragraph, but I'm starting down a couple lines. Let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, about 7 lines down where it started out at Mentuhotep II, which is one of my favorite Nisu biddies of Kemet. Okay, it says Mentuhotep II was probably the greatest of the 11th dynasty kings. It was he who undertook to settle the white Asian problem forever by reversing the policy of integration and expelling them from Lower Egypt. Historians of the period write that he did expel the Asians from the Delta in 2040 BC. So yeah, that just goes down. That's just talking about him and how he had to expel them. And I did talk about him in my presentation of the Warrior Kings of Kemet. He was one of the Warrior Kings of Kemet, him and his brother. Now, if you slide down to where let's see, the second paragraph down at the bottom, it says the compelling reason for the reconquest of the Delta was always economic. In fact, race itself was an economic factor. When Asians controlled a commercial blockade that kept blacks from direct world trade and international relations in general, therefore, the second reunification in 2040 BC ushered in another golden era in black history. So that's pivotal right there. This part right here. Now I read the first part just to lead y'all into this part. It's basically saying Mentuhotep he ushered in a golden age and it was based on economics. It's based on economics. Like we dealing with that today, man. We dealing with that today. Like we disproportionate and we came over here based off economics. And it was race. You know what I'm saying? Race was the economic factor in that. So yeah, when I read that right there, I was like, yeah, man, that's something that we also dealing with. We just need we need a Mentuhotep revolution to get us into our golden age though. Maybe in 20 BCE we'll be straight. 2040 BCE or ACE. But yeah, that's all I had on that on 83. Your mic muted, Kofi.
Man, I don't know why. Yeah, I was saying that's all I had. Was them 2 pages I had that I read. I mean, in the brother Ills got something they want to talk about in chapter 2. Deal with in chapter 2, and anybody else in the chat got something else? Any more questions concerning the books or something that we might have read?
Did we lose Brother Unc? Or is he still with us?
I don't know. I think he's gone. I tried to ask him a question a while ago. They got something going on the pseudo kiddos. I think I seen something with Chevron name pop up not too long ago, about an hour ago, rather.
Yeah, they got something going on over there. I think Sheffrin did go live, but I don't know if he over there though. It's busy football night. Time did go back an hour, but it seemed like it's longer than that.
Yeah, dude, messed me up, man.
Yep.
Yeah, man, we could wrap it up because it's only a couple more pages left, man. Chapter 3 is Egypt, the rise and fall of white civilization. So this one's gonna be a powerful one, man. Make sure y'all ready. We'll do this one next. We'll do this one next Sunday. Yeah, so if y'all got any closing words, we can go ahead and end it. We at the 2-hour mark.
I ain't got anything, man. But before we end it, we have to always do this. I'll do this. I always got to throw out the publications, and don't, like I said earlier, I don't own. This is the proof copy. This is the gold right here. This is worth more than the books you got. This is the proof copy. So I don't have one without the not for sale. So this is something that we get, that we approve. I don't have an original copy for myself. I got some coming now since they talked bad about me earlier, but go get your Spirits of the Democracy Volume 1, a historical survey of the minds of African warrior scholars. It is out on Kofi Paisai TV, Amazon.com. It is in Unk Store. What is the Black Dot Cultural Center in Atlanta. It'll be in Temple, Texas. In the next 2 weeks, it'll be arriving at the African Consciousness online bookstore. All our publications will be in there too. It's in Unc's bookstore as well. If you don't have Volume 2, you go get Volume 2 from Spirits of Pen, a historical survey in the minds of African warrior scholars. Volume 2. Go get your copy today. Available on KofiPaisaitv.com, Amazon.com, the Black Dot Cultural Center in Atlanta, and will be in Temple, Texas, in the African Consciousness online bookstore in Temple, Texas. If you don't have Sean's book, One Night Before Bed, please go get that. It's also available on Kofi Paisai TV and on Amazon.com. I'm trying to see it. And it's I think it's available in the Blue Dot Cultural Center. Ain't it, Sean? Ain't the book down there? Unc has the book, yes. And I think is it okay? Yeah, and it's in the African Conscience. She has 4 books. The African Conscience is online bookstore in Temple, Texas. So go. You got many places you can go get this.
I'm gonna be on your head. You keep calling it the Blue Dot.
The Black Dot. I don't know where I be saying blue. I know I get Blue Dot from, but anyway. I know I get Blue Dot from, but anyway, Kalawa's, my book, Kalawa's Trip to the Motherland of African Education and Music and Instruments. It's also available on Kofi Paisai TV, Amazon.com, the Black Dot Cultural Center in Georgia, and it will be available in a few weeks at the African Consciousness online bookstore in Temple, Texas. If you've been on a rock and you don't know what's going on, if you don't know nothing about Double Impact Friday, October the 30th was Double Impact Day. So if you don't have this book, go get this book. This is Sean's new release, presented by the Monster Warrior Clan, From Cocaine to Consciousness. From Cocaine to Consciousness. It's available now on Kofi Paisai TV and Amazon.com. But please go to Kofi Paisai TV. Yes, www.KOFIEPIESIE.TV.com to purchase this book. Also, I released the book on the same day he released this book. That's why we called it October the 30th Double Impact. We released double publications. So also go get this book, my book, As I Learn, We All Learn. Sharing with others help deepen your own knowledge. So please go get that. It's also on Kofi Paisai TV and Amazon.com. But please go to Kofi Paisai TV to purchase the books. It is www.KOFIPIESIETV.com. You always, no matter who it is, you always want to try to go through the author. I know y'all like going through Amazon.com. Oh, I got Prime. I can get it from Prime. You still gonna have to wait. If we send it to you, it's gonna arrive in the same time. Because if you order something from Prime today, I'm a Prime member, you're not gonna get it the next day. So please go and support us, and any author that you support, seek them first. You know, even though we don't mind you going to Amazon, go to Amazon.com and get the book. If you're in the area in Temple, Texas, go to the African Consciousness bookstore and get our publications. If you're in Georgia, you right there, go right there to the Black Dot Cultural Center and get the book. If you're in the area where these books are available at, go there and get them, But if you're not in that area, please always try to patronize the author first, and we talk about this a lot in our author's perspective. But that's all I got to say. I don't want to go too much into this. Please support us. Please support, man. That's all I got, man. I couldn't leave without, man, plugging all the publication.
All right, well, that's a wrap. We appreciate everybody for watching. Peace.